Nearly 2 weeks ago, Chris Rock revealed that he tested positive for coronavirus. The news caused an uproar of different responses, one from social media influencer Rizza Islam. Islam didn't take too kindly to Rock's vaccine advocacy and even made a video expressing his thoughts on comedians and entertainers promoting the vaccine. Today we have our comedy hype analyst, Capone, as well as Pierre calling in along with our very special guest, Mr. Rizza Islam. First and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. How are you?
I'm well. I'm honored to be here.
Absolutely, we're happy to have you. Now, I want to dive right in. I do feel like a lot of people have seen your video, on your platform as well as our platform. But for the ones that may not be familiar, could you just express a little bit of your stance on the vaccine thing?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing is we can't technically call it a vaccine because of it being allowed under an emergency use authorization, which technically means that it is still experimental, with the exception of, I believe, one or two recently that were given FDA approval. However, even though through the FDA approval, it has still not gone through a rigorous testing process long enough to determine all of the long-term effects, hence why they still have effects popping up roughly every other week that they are investigating, which that is the same thing that would occur if they would have done long enough trials. So as of right now, it is not safe, it is not effective. There are scientists on the opposite end of this saying the exact same thing, which is it is not safe, it is not effective, we should not be giving this to human beings. And there are scientists on the other side saying it is safe, it is effective, etc. So it's not just a one size fit all thing. And as of right now, I think we should do more investigation, more studying, more research, and wait to see exactly what this is going to do. And while that is occurring, everyone should boost their immune system, change their diet, etc. And also have a right to choose to take it or not. And their job should not be weighed in the balance. Their children's education shouldn't be put in the balance. Their ability to travel, shop, etc. should not be placed in the balance.
Right. Now, this has been a continued conversation, especially in our culture, whether no matter what side you're on. So I want to ask you, why do you think so many people within our community are hesitant to take this vaccine outside of the facts that you just gave?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing is this government in no way, shape, form, nor fashion has given us, I would say, a solidified reason as to why we should trust them. Number one, people bring up Tuskegee, which is only a tip of the iceberg. Tuskegee had roughly 600 participants who did not receive treatment, is what they say. While at the same time, you had the circumstances over in Nairobi, Kenya, where they injected over 500,000 women with a tetanus shot that was caught having a anti-fertility drug in it that was announced by the Kenyan government, and they stopped it. You also had over 1,500 children who were experimented on here in Los Angeles with another shot. You also have the MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, rubella, that was found to have leaned Black boys onto the autism spectrum at the rate of 236% more than Caucasian boys, as admitted by Dr. William Thompson, the senior lead scientist over the Center for Disease Control's Vaccine Division, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there is no evidence demonstrating why we should trust them when it comes to taking shots, but there is a mountain of evidence demonstrating as to why we should not. So if they care about our health, then they will go to the basic 10th grade biological science, which states that you should boost your immune system, change your diet, change the way you eat, your habits, etc. And it will give you a robust, also known as innate God-given immunity. Or they would also say, do that while researching the shots and make your decision as to whether or not you want to take them. But you have to do both, and you should not be forced to take something that is not safe nor effective.
Right. Now, I think a lot of people will agree with a lot that you're saying, but on the opposing side, a lot of people feel like that your platform or the way that you may communicate things may steer people more away than to you. So I want to ask you, the way that you use your platform, and I know we'll get into Chris Rock in a little bit, but a situation like that where you use Chris Rock or comedians to kind of talk about it, do you think that brings people more towards the expressions that you're giving or more away from you?
So far in my investigation of it, looking at it, kind of polling, engaging it, I would say it brings them far closer. And here's the other thing. There is no attack on comedians. I know some of the top comedians, and the vast majority of them are not for the shot. As a matter of fact, they've been heavily vocal when it comes to being in opposition. So my platform, and just so we can make it very clear, the United States government has shut down my platform. They banned me from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Clubhouse, etc., as a result of educating the people, not only on this topic, but the area of vaccines is something that I've personally been involved in for roughly 7 years, educating politicians, educating celebrities, educating people all in the neighborhoods, as well as fighting to pass legislation or to prevent legislation from being passed to protect the rights of children, to protect the rights of parents, and to protect the rights of citizens within different demographics of the country. So what I've done has been a full educational process, not saying don't take this, don't take that, without having any science or evidence to back it up. It has been absolutely evidence-based, scientific-based, but it has been based on the right to choose, which is our God-given right as citizens of the planet, not just America.
Right. Now, I do want to dive into your video in just a moment, but I do want to ask, when you released the video about Chris Rock and, him coming out saying that he had COVID, as well as vouching for people to get the vaccine, what were some of the responses that you received in yourself?
They were all heavily in agreement, number one. And then number two, I was reached out to by a number of comedians who said that is exactly what needs to be said, because one, we know America doesn't give a damn about a comedian outside of entertainment. They're not interested in your logical thinking for the majority. Some of them will get up to that past, that echelon, up to that point to where they want to hear what you have to say outside of comedy. Same thing with a basketball player, same thing with a football player, same thing with a dancer, same thing with an actor. They're not interested in you being politically active. They're not interested in you being socially active or where injustice is concerned. They want you to do the job that they paid you to do, which is make me laugh, sing, dance, go ahead and dunk that damn basketball, throw that football, etc. So I have done my best to empower them. And so when they reached out to me, that is what I have done. So they didn't take offense to it because they put it in full context. They watched the whole video. And it was me empowering comedians, but also highlighting the fact that this government does not give a damn about hearing your perspective, because most comedians actually are very intelligent. Matter of fact, all the ones that I know are extremely intelligent. But again, they don't want to hear nothing you got to say outside of making it.
Now, as you know, we did discuss that video here on our platform, specifically when you were talking about the comedians. And when you did mention them, you did, talk about comedians being court jesters or clowns and things like that. So I do want to take a look at that video, and then I want to bring in our analysts. So let's take a look at that clip.
All right, here we are again. Brother Chris Rock just revealed that he tested positive for CV-19, but what he forgot to mention to everybody is, hey, guess what? Not only did I take a shot once, I took a shot twice, and I still caught it. I think it's a perfect time to just mention that fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And Negro, you think we're going to listen to you when it comes to a third time? Absolutely pray that brother pulls through this and that he gets better. Make sure you boost your immune system, because that is the serious part about this. However, if you were simply paid to put that post up, you have lost your damn mind. Our main thing is, why do they keep using comedians, which are not traditionally serious people, about this thing that is serious? Why do they keep using entertainers about things that are dealing with medicine and health? The real question is, why do so many of you entertainers, actors, athletes, comedians, etc. bend over so easily and go along with it as if you truly know what the hell you're talking about? Absolutely understand why they use comedians, because to be very honest with you, when it comes to comedians all throughout history, you are known as the court jesters. When things become too serious, life becomes too serious, the king is about to go to war, they need to make people laugh. So what do? They bring in the clown.
And action.
Now, Pierre, I want to come to you first. After seeing that again, and I know we've talked about it a little bit, what are your thoughts on that, or anything that you want to present here?
Yeah, I understand what the brother is saying. Well, one thing he's asking for people to do is boost their immune system. Yes, it's right. But, we live in a country that's the fattest country in the world almost. And, we're really low down. People don't care about their health as they should. So tell somebody to get their immune system up, but they can't get rid of the last 10, 15 pounds around their stomach that they've been working on forever. It's kind of crazy to ask them to do that. Sure, you're right. We should do that. People who smoke should stop smoking. It just doesn't turn off and on like that easy. He says that Chris Rock took 2 shots. Yeah, it takes 2 shots with the Pfizer. So he took 2 shots. Nowhere that I've ever read, or no one can show me where a doctor said, if you take COVID, the 2-shot, the COVID, whatever shot, vaccine, you will not get COVID. Never I've seen that before. Doctors can never say anything is 100%. That's why even birth control pills are 99.9%, because they know nothing is perfect. So getting the shot does not alleviate you from getting COVID. The symptoms or dying from it is a lot less. No different than wearing a seatbelt in the car. You might die in a car crash with a seatbelt on, but your chances are better than if you didn't wear a seatbelt. Then he says, talk about people bending over. That's a negative term to say bend over. If we don't go along with the thing, we're bending over for the man. Why can't we just have done our research and agree with what we saw and said, okay, I'll take the pill. The shot. Why is it that I gotta be bending over? Why is a comedian? And there've been many great comedians. He mentioned a couple of them, but there's great comedians now that work hard to do political humor. Eddie Griffin, Dave Chappelle. There's a lot of them, Godfrey. There's a lot of them talk about racism and stuff. So let's not take the comedians and say, oh, if you don't go along with what I'm saying, you're a court jester, a class clown. That's not right to me. So, a lot of us, I fight for stuff left and right, but I guess I'm just a comedian that's a court jester when it comes to what I believe in.
Now, Pierre, I want to give Rizza a chance to respond to that. Rizza, is there anything that you'd like to respond to that?
Absolutely. I think this is a perfect example of one, taking a person's words out of context completely, and two, not actually watching the full clip of a person's video. This is actually very classic of what Fox does, CNN does, MSNBC, et cetera, to mischaracterize a person's character and put up an image of them that doesn't exist. Number one, I did not in no way come at comedians generally and say all comedians this or that, with the exception of how the government uses entertainers to push their own agendas. Comedians, for the most part, are very knowledgeable people who have certain things that they do, certain ways that they understand things, just like everybody on the planet. They're human beings. But I in no way demonize all comedians. I stated those comedians who sold out, just like I state those actors that sell out, those athletes that sell out, those anyone, politicians, etc., who sell out and push this system's agenda. Let us be very specific, because you mentioned every one of those comedians you just mentioned, with the exception of Cat Williams, not only all know me, but I know all of them. And not only are they rigorously against the shot, but you brought up the fact that, maybe it's because we did our research and we chose to take a shot. Well, did you do the research really? And the reason why I ask that is because if you knew very key, specific, blatant, obvious things, you would not have taken that shot. I know this for an absolute fact, having been involved in this area for roughly 7 years. So it's not just a few things you read on a few websites. It's not just some pharmaceutically sponsored skewed statistics that they hand you or hand someone, or it's not just you Googling certain things. This takes a lot of research because they strategically hide it and bury it so that it will be very difficult for you to find out what the truth is. So no, I do not come at all comedians generally whatsoever, because that's not even an intelligent thing to do. That's not a right thing to do. That is completely unfair. But I did come at those who sold out intentionally, hence the term bending over for this system, which a lot of people have done and still do to this very day. So let us not make it seem as though we don't have sellouts in our community, when we absolutely factually do. But we also have people who are sincerely ignorant and sincerely doing their best to make the decision for themselves with the information that they have. And that too is also a very real situation, hence why we do our best to educate the people. And that is exactly what I was doing when I was referring to Chris Rock.
But hold on. So let me get my thing in. So if it doesn't go along with what you're saying, then you feel like it's a sellout. If I did my research of what I feel like, or someone did research what they feel, and they said, I want to take the shot, if they do that and they're a comedian, then they're selling out because they're doing the devil's work or whatever, the government's work. Why can't I be correct in what I feel and what I've done and still do what I do without being a sellout?
Very good question. Well, first of all, it's not if it doesn't go along with what Rizza says. It's if you intentionally are pushing the agenda, are my specific words, of this system. If you're getting paid to push their narrative, which a lot of people, as the White House has enlisted large numbers of influencers from TikTok, Instagram, etc. They have enlisted tons of A-list celebrities who they have paid literally tens of thousands of dollars, potentially over 100,000 for some, and many of them who were offered lots of money that I personally know, who called me and told me they turned it down. So yes, some people are selling out, and then a few of them, because of, like you mentioned, what they thought they knew. They were convinced completely that it was safe, it was effective. They have a good heart. They want to help the people. They want people to live longer. And so they thought the shot was the solution. But the problem was they didn't do enough research on their own in the specific areas, because again, they may not have known. And that's a very real situation. A lot of people really don't know. So I understand that. It has nothing to do with if it doesn't go along with my narrative. It has to do with, did you really do enough research? And then again, the sellouts are the ones who intentionally are getting paid to push the shot when they know they have not gotten all the information. That is very specific.
And I agree with that, but don't mix the two together. A sellout who's getting paid and someone who did research, not enough research that you feel didn't do enough research. Those are two different things. So they both could be pushing the agenda. One is being paid and one is just sincerely thinking they did the right thing. So don't call them all sellouts for pushing the agenda, because it's two different kind of people. You agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, I never call both. Yeah, I never mix the two. I do a pretty good job of making sure I separate things, because there are different realities. Everybody's not a sellout. Everybody's not ignorant. There are different situations. I mean, I work with the people in person, so there's a lot of different situations, and you're absolutely correct. That's why I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I want to make it very clear, everybody ain't no sellout. A lot of people genuinely believe what they believe, and they think that they got enough information that help them make that decision, when again, they're still lacking certain key things that if they had it, they would have not made that decision.
All right.
Now, I want to be able to let Capone chime in as well. Capone, are there any thoughts or anything that you want to add based on what you've heard so far, as well as the full video that we did watch?
Well, I already knew. I agreed with him from day one. I also agree with him that there are comedians that are clowns and court jesters. And that ain't nothing. That's just my personal experience with some of the guys that I've dealt with. I mean, the comedy family ain't as close as they seem to be. And, you know, to each his own. My thing is just straight up and personally. And I had a problem at first when I thought Rizza was trying to advocate people to not take it, like not giving them a choice, just like people who took it was not giving them a choice. But today I stand corrected. He's not doing that. He said in his video that he's given a choice, but he's also giving you the education of what is not good. And there's a lot of people that's just taking it, and people are not saying it over fear. They're losing their jobs. They doing all kinds of things for fear. And whoever's putting out that you should take it is doing a lot of good work with fear.
But also, let me say this, but also there's people who won't take it, who ain't doing no studying. They're like, I ain't taking it. The government, like, brother, study it first. Why don't you look into it? They're saying no from the rip. You know, they're not doing their homework to see if it might be good or not. They're just saying, no, the government's out there. I ain't taking it. What about those folks?
I'm one of those people. And I'm one of those people because I caught COVID early. And I'm very healthy with my immune system. And my thing is, you're saying take the shot. But if you take the shot, you still can catch it. You still can give it to somebody else. So what is the purpose? I'm sorry, Pierre, you did say it stops you from dying.
Well, lowers your chance from dying.
Oh, okay. I got
Which
you.
is not true.
All right. Okay. Brother Rizza, Brother Islam?
Yeah, I'll let you chime in, Rizza.
Okay. I love having this type of discussion in a laughable way helps it to go down easier, because a lot of people are really getting crazy. They're getting religious with this thing. They get political, and I don't like that. We should be able to discuss these things and have a difference in opinion. If we want to have a difference in opinion, have our own decision. But one, Brother Capone, you brought up, a lot of people are taking it out of fear. A lot of people are not taking it, Brother Pierre, as you said, without having done any research whatsoever. And that's because the blatant evidence of trusting this government has ended in a very bad situation time and time again. So I understand both sides. Is it right for them to just decide to not take it because they haven't done the research? Not necessarily, but if they chose not to because of the overwhelming evidence that demonstrates, well, hell, I trusted the government how many times, how many generations, how many decades, and we've always been effed over by them for the vast majority? Okay, so logically, I understand that more, but if you want to defend your right to not take it, I do recommend you at least have some facts behind you to support your decision. At least, so that we don't just get out here looking crazy and then attacking the people who took it when they have at least some facts in their mind or some opinion, some data, they got something. But you don't have nothing. No. You have to be able to stand on your square and say, this is why. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. That's one. That's number two. Boosting the immunity is the best way to handle this overall. The director of the CDC, Rochelle Walensky, did state that those who took the shot early on, from December up until now, have a higher likelihood of getting sick and not being protected from the new variants because of the weakened efficacy of the shots, meaning they only gave 2 to 3 months of boosting the immunity, and they will weaken after that. So you're going to have now to get another shot and another shot, versus those who caught COVID early or caught COVID in the wild, overcame it, and now they have full antibodies, full white blood cells to where they know the entire virus and their body is built up from it. Vaccine-induced immunity only gives you the information from the spike protein, which is a piece of it, while getting COVID fully in the wild gives you the full understanding of the virus, and your entire immune system is far more robust and strong. That came from the CDC itself. And the last point, which is it prevents you from dying or lessens the likelihood of dying or lessens heavy symptoms, is factually incorrect. The opposite has even been demonstrated according to the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, which is a joint reporting system between the CDC and the FDA, where over 15,000 deaths have been directly connected and attributed to the shots, over 150, or actually over 300,000 adverse reactions, including myocarditis, heart swelling, including encephalopathy, brain swelling, including Bell's palsy, half the person's face hanging down, abnormal menstrual cycles, which currently the NIH, National Institute of Health, is now investing $1.67 million into investigating, because so many women have reported to the system about their menstrual cycles after having taken the shot, etc. So there's a lot of information that has been omitted or strategically kept away from the people, to where you have to go and find it, but they're just not going to say anything about it. Hence why on every mainstream media source, they never say, here are the negatives of the shot. They only say, take the shot, take the shot, take the shot, because pharmaceuticals sponsor and pay for the ads on mainstream media.
Well, I've seen negative situations, but I've also talked to doctors who are in the field, working on it in the hospitals, and they tell me what they see. Now, they're my friends. Maybe they're lying to me because I don't know why they want to lie to me, because I already took the shot, and I've had COVID. So, I hear you keep pushing, how you gonna take the shot and you keep getting, and you get COVID. It never say to that you wouldn't get COVID if you got the shot. I mean, why would you say that?
Early on? They did. Fauci literally stated it will prevent you from getting COVID. All mainstream media sites early did state this before the shot came out. Then they switched their tune and they said, well, actually, it's not going to prevent you from getting COVID. It's not going to prevent you from spreading COVID, but it will lessen negative reactions and it will lessen hospitalization. So they switched their tune. All shots in history have prevented the very virus that they're saying they're trying to fight against. But this one, all of a sudden, it doesn't prevent the virus. And what the hell is real purpose? What are you injecting me with? Exactly. And it weakens in 2 to 3 months. That makes no sense. And I'm just saying, it's factually, scientifically, makes no sense. And the only reason why people are defending it so heavily now is because those who took it don't want to be wrong. And I understand, because you listen to a liar who has been a liar from the damn beginning. And because of that, you have taken this and you're like, look, I don't want to be wrong. My children took it. I do not want to be the cause of them having a negative situation. And I understand. Hence why I recommend everyone who took the shot detox to the best of their ability, because the CDC continues to reveal information that goes against what they have said early on.
Right. Now, I do want to say I appreciate you providing some solutions in that from your perspective, because that's one of the things that we do talk about here on the show, especially when we're discussing these type of topics. It's important to say, okay, hey, here's what we see the problem as. Here's some research we've done. This is, what I think the next step or the solution is. So I appreciate you giving that from your perspective and for calling in to clear up things. Because I do think a lot of people, did see your video. And just to make sure I'm clear, we did watch your video in full. I know we had to chop it up for, the sake of the episode, but we did watch the video to its extent. And I do think some people still were offended by some of the comments that were made about comedians. So I do appreciate you clearing that up and being able to provide more insight into that. So I'm pretty sure everyone can agree to that. And, thank you again for joining us today. And as always, Pierre and Capone, I appreciate y'all calling in to give your thoughts and your views on this topic. You heard from us. Now we want to hear from you in the comments below. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
Do you know the comedy culture? Play Comedy Hype, the game. Out now.